terrible at doing that. Waves is directed by Don Gerardo Frasco, written by Scott Curtis Graham, and stars Baron Geisler and Ilona Struzik. And Waves centers around these two characters. There's this Filipino architect named Ross, played by Baron Geisler, and this Romanian, I believe, model, Sofia, played by Ilona Struzik, who used to have like a relationship in the past, and they have this sort of chance encounter here in the Philippines, and they decide to go on this impromptu escape to this tropical island where they begin to confront the relationship they had in the past, as well as maybe try to reignite some old feelings they may still have for each other. Now, I knew near to nothing about this movie. I had heard about it from a couple people, but for the most part, I really didn't know what I was going into, but I did still want to watch it because I was interested in how it seemed very original for a local movie. And that's really like the most important thing for me when I watch Filipino movies now. Like, I really just want to see something new. And while Waves is definitely quite original, in the end, I still wouldn't say I really liked it, because while there are great performances in it, I just couldn't ride how this movie was edited and directed. First, I'm gonna talk about the stuff that I didn't really like about the movie. For one, for me at least, when you shoot a movie on like a beautiful tropical island, for me you can't just rely on the natural beauty alone. Like, you still have to kind of tweak it, or at least present it in such a way so the island will feel distinct, you know, because I feel like the production design in this movie could have used a little more personality, especially in like the resort place that they stayed at, so as to really kind of allow the setting to really kind of take on a character of its own, not to just remain a place where these events are happening, or, you know, even better, to allow this setting to be able to reflect the themes going on in the story. And the geography of the island itself is beautiful, but for me it could have been a bit more distinct, because by the end the island just kind of comes off as a separate world, you know, away from reality, which kind of goes against how the movie is trying to be hardcore realistic. Now, fans of Jean-Marc Vallée, especially with his last movie Wild, will enjoy the fragmented, almost stream of consciousness style of editing that happens in this movie. But I am not one of those fans. Like, I didn't really like that kind of editing style. And while the idea of building backstory and creating like a dreamlike vibe definitely has merit, I ultimately found it too distracting in this movie, because this movie is trying to, you know, lay bare these raw emotions, but then it keeps cutting away to like some unrelated footage, and I thought it was detrimental to the emotion being laid down. And unfortunately, most of the dialogue as well is pretty on the nose. It's very honest dialogue in the sense that you're basically watching this couple argue for 90 minutes. And while it is honest, I think it confuses that honesty with complexity, because dialogue doesn't really reveal that much about the characters. You know, they're still the same by the end, at least in my opinion. And I hate to compare this movie to Before Midnight, but it's pretty much Before Midnight on an island. But unlike that movie, I feel like Waves needed a clearer relationship between its two leads, because you don't really know what went on between them in the past relationship. But yeah, it would have been better, I think, if it was more well defined, as well as I think there needed to be a bit more balance between these two leads, because at the end it still feels more like Ross's story, when I feel like they should have dedicated just as much time to fleshing out Sofia. And the way Don Gerardo Frasco directs this movie, for me at least, felt like it had an excess of style and a lack of restraint or inner psychology for these characters. You know, I never actually got used to the way he kept moving his camera around. Instead of just kind of like keeping it still at certain points and letting the actors really kind of carry the scenes. And for me, like, when you have a movie on a tropical island, it's just ripe for different approaches to scenes, but Frasco kind of keeps it the same all throughout by always kind of just staying with the characters in third person, if that makes any sense. But there were things I did like about the movie. For one, to their credit, Baron Geisler and Ilona Struzik are actually pretty great in this movie, I think. Even without the strength of good writing, I feel like they alone were able to make the relationship feel real and complex. You know, like, their chemistry is kind of dangerously playful. You believe that they had a past with each other, and it's really, really cool stuff. And of course, if you watch the trailer for the movie, you know that this movie has incredible cinematography. Like, it's just mind-blowing, some of the nature shots they get in this movie. But not just that. For me, what's impressive is that the cinematography also manages to make this couple seem kind of alien, in contrast to the purity of like the natural background, you know, like it makes them feel like dirty stains on this island, which I thought was really cool. But in the end, I would still say that Waves is just kind of it's not really a good movie in my opinion. However, I will still give it major kudos for being an original local movie, and I hope to see more of this kind of stuff. Alright, so that's Waves. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, whether you agree or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.